And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today is going to be a little bit different type of program. We're still going to cook, but the number one request that I get is, could you please do more diabetic friendly meals, low carb meals, keto meals, those kinds of things. People want inspiration, want to know what they can eat, what they can't eat. My reply is always, and I want to preface this whole program by saying, I am not a dietitian, I am not a nutritionist. I am just someone who loves food, who loves to cook, and does a lot of research. So I want you to know I'm not a professional. I'm just giving you what is a diabetic friendly meal. If you're doing any of the eating plans like the keto, Mike and I both are kind of moving more toward the keto way of eating because of both of us need to reduce some glucose levels. But anyway, this is very much suitable for that. It is also very suitable for someone that wants to watch their carbohydrate intake for their, either diabetes, pre-diabetes, just wanting to get their levels lower, their glucose readings. So that is the preface to this whole program. So today we are going to be making what I think is an absolutely delicious meal that is extremely low in carbohydrates. This whole meal, from start to finish, a serving of it has about 9 net grams of carbohydrates. So stay tuned. All right, the first thing we're going to do is I have in this container 6 boneless, skinless chicken breasts that I've just laid out in a baking dish, and there's nothing on them. I'm going to sprinkle them with a little bit of freshly ground pepper. I just ground this in my spice grinder. I always keep a little container with pepper already ground in it. Now, I have been at home using a lot of the Himalayan pink salt because it replaces a lot of the electrolytes and things that we need. I don't have any here, so I'm just using regular kosher salt, just a little bit. I'm going to bake this chicken just like this for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to top it with a sauce that is absolutely scrumptious. So we're going to put this in the oven at 400 degrees. You can do 375, 400. I'm doing 400 because I'm going to be roasting something else for about 20 minutes to kind of give it a head start on the sauce. So now we are going to be making, to go alongside this dish, this is chicken with a Parmesan coating. We're also going to be making some roasted Brussels sprouts. Now I am going to I'm using bacon, the lower sodium bacon, but you can also use prosciutto. I've done it with both, and it's delicious with both. I just didn't have any prosciutto, so I'm going to use the bacon. I'm going to go ahead and slice it all. My pan's a little hot. I want about 4 or 5 slices for the Brussels sprouts. So I'm going to get that in there and let that go ahead and start crisping. But while I got my board out, I'm going to go ahead and chop up the bacon and put it in the other pan for the sauce for the chicken. Now, I am doing a lot of research at home on this ketogenics diet. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do it. I'm not going to give you that advice. I'm just saying this is how I've been really adapting a lot of my meals. And it does increase the fat to train your body to burn the fat instead of carbohydrates because it's an extremely low carbohydrate diet. So that's why I'm using some fat here. It takes a little bit of training in your mind to get your mind out of the mindset that, you know, fat is bad. But just go with me here. I always put this under my little board to keep it from sliding. I'm just going to crisp up some bacon in this pan. That pan's not on yet. Okay? Just going to crisp that bacon up. And I have one container or one bag of fresh Brussels sprouts. Now I've already trimmed up a few of them just for time purposes. But I wanted to go over how to do that with you, picking out the ones I haven't already done. So what you want to do is take a little paring knife. These have been washed. Cut off the very bottom. Leave the little core. If you'll look here inside the Brussels sprout, just like a little mini cabbage, you've got a little core. You want to cut through that core, but don't cut it away because that holds. See how it goes up in there? That holds all the leaves together. And if one or two falls off, that's okay. If the Brussels sprouts are any bigger than this, I cut them in half. But something that small, I just leave whole. You want to trim off any bruised or, you know, yellowed looking leaves. That one's little, so he can stay whole. And then cut them in half. The reason I like to cut them in half is they cook more evenly and that bottom side gets good and brown. We're going to roast these. And I know what some of you are saying. You're like, oh, I can't stand Brussels sprouts. Well, my guess is that you have only had them boiled to death. And I can't stand them like that either. But roasted is a whole nother issue. Brussels sprouts there's no carbohydrates. So you're good to go with your Brussels sprouts, your cruciferous vegetables. I was amazed to learn, and a simple way to think of it, and it really helped me, was to think anything that, with the exception of onions, anything that grows under the ground is a no-no for carbohydrate count. If it grows above the ground, then it's okay. I mean, obviously things like corn. Corn has a lot of carbs in it, but that's not really a vegetable, it's a grain. Peas are a high starchy one, but pretty much, you know, things like Brussels sprouts and cabbage and peppers, green peppers, red peppers, orange peppers, whatever kind of pepper you like, okra, eggplant, zucchini, squash of all kinds, all of those types of things are good to go. But your carrots have got a lot of sugar. Your beets have got a lot of sugar. Things that are root type vegetables, obviously potatoes and sweet potatoes have a lot. So they're kind of out if you're trying to watch your carbs. And I really am trying to watch the carbohydrate intake a lot. I mean, I'm really diligent about that. So we're going to do, you know, a lot of different kinds of cooking, but I am going to be bringing you some different low carb options. Now, in this bowl, I'm going to be taking balsamic vinegar, and this is the balsamic vinegar that I use. It's the Alessi brand. It's like $3 a bottle, and I'm just telling you, at the grocery store, it's amazing at the flavor that this brings to any dish. I'm going to use 2 or 3 tablespoons. And then I'm going to use a sugar substitute. You can use, you know, whatever, the stevia. I'm using Splenda because that's what I have. I'm using that for my sweetener. Just kind of dissolve that. All right. We're going to take our bacon. I'm just using a slotted spoon to kind of separate it out. All right. Let me set this over here. And I'm going to add a heart-healthy oil, which is olive oil. Okay, because we're going to coat our Brussels sprouts with that. So take your trimmed Brussels sprouts, pour that mixture in, toss it around with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. All right, toss them around. Oh, so good. We're going to put them on our lined baking sheet. All right. What I like to do is just make sure that all of the cut sides are down because they get golden. When you roast vegetables, and in this case, the Brussels sprouts, the caramelization that takes place is it just changes the flavor of pretty much anything that gets roasted. It becomes naturally sweeter. You're not adding the sugar, but it does become naturally sweeter. The balsamic kind of reduces a little bit and becomes just this glaze almost, and it's really good. This is a good, if you don't want to use Brussels sprouts, you could do the same thing with zucchini or, eggplant, any kind of a vegetable that you like. If you're not watching your carbohydrates, you can do this with potatoes or carrots, and that's good too. I like it with turnips. I love turnips roasted. All right, so we're going to put this in our oven alongside our chicken, and we're going to let it go approximately 15 or 20 minutes until the Brussels sprouts just get golden and tender, and they are absolutely scrumptious. I'm just going to clean up my mess, pop these in the oven, and when I come back, we're going to get started on the sauce for the chicken. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Alrighty now, our Brussels sprouts are roasting, our chicken is baking, and we are going to start on the topping for the chicken. Now, in this skillet, I have, about, 4 or so slices of bacon. You can use prosciutto, you could use pancetta, whichever you want. I've made it with bacon and with prosciutto. And prosciutto is an Italian, very, very, very thin ham. It's not smoked, it's cured, but it's really good. You can use it with either one. This just gives it a little bit smokier of a flavor, but they're both delicious. And I'm going to use some green onions. I'm going to save the green tops for garnish to serve it with because you want a little something green on top. All right, these are kind of big, so I'm going to cut them in half. And then I'm going to slice them. I'm using about, let's see, I've got 6. If you don't have any green onions, you can use like a medium onion. That's fine too. Whichever you have will work. Okay, and I am going to save these for the top. All right, I'm going to chop those up just a little bit finer. Now, the topping for this is delicious. And one serving of this, it has approximately 5 grams of carbohydrates, net carbs. You may not know what net means. Net carbohydrates is you take the full carb count in something and subtract out any fiber that may be there, because that reduces and that gives you the net carbs. So that's what that term means. Well, one serving of this chicken has 5 net carbs, and worth every one of them. Absolutely worth every single one. So we've got our onions. We're going to saute our bacon and let that go. Now you want to give the chicken a head start You want to give it, you know, approximately 20 or so minutes in the oven. And then we're going to top it and bake it again because it's not going to be cooked through. All right. Okay. In this bowl, we are going to add some mayonnaise. I'm using mayonnaise that's based, they've got a new one out that is avocado oil based, and that's the one I'm using, but you can use whatever kind of mayonnaise you like. I just really do prefer the ones that are either olive oil based or avocado based. This is grated Parmesan cheese. It's finely shredded. I'm just going to add approximately a half a cup or so of that. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of freshly ground pepper to that mixture. Okay, just stir that up. When your bacon is starting to brown, just keep an eye on it. You want to crisp it up. Where did, oh, it's in my thing. Let's get another one here. You want to just crisp up that bacon. And you can do this ahead of time and have it ready to go. And you can, if you want to, do this whole, you know, you'll have to do this part in a skillet, but put your chicken breasts in the bottom of a slow cooker and then put your topping on and put it on low. You can cook this in a slow cooker. It's fine. It's delicious. Makes its own little gravy. I'm going to be using some unique ingredients here, so bear with me. We just need to get this crisped up. Again, if you missed the very beginning of this program, we're doing some low carbohydrate foods, some recipes that are low in carbs, because again, the number one request that I get and that I have gotten for years is do diabetic recipes. Well, it's a way of eating, and it is if you didn't hear the disclaimer at the beginning, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a dietitian, I don't claim to be an expert. I just do a lot of research, a lot of reading. I have worked with the Diabetes Center, the Wellmont Hospital, which is now Ballad Health. I have worked with the Diabetes Center there and done cooking demonstrations and so forth, and I've gained a lot of knowledge through that. All right, when that bacon is about done, this had quite a bit of fat, so I am going to take a little bit of that fat out. I'm gonna, I'll just put it in this bowl. I'm gonna remove a little bit of that. I don't want that much in there. I want to leave about 2 tablespoons or so. Leave the bacon in there. So this is going to be a low-carb diet, or low-carb meal, low-carb meal that you can, if you eat the newest way of eating on the market, and if you watch anything, read anything, or even peruse any kind of a bookstore, you see a lot of keto stuff. That's the latest way of eating, and that's what Mike and I are doing. We are following the ketogenic way of eating. So I've had to dramatically change the way I think and the way I cook a lot of meals. Now I want to saute those onions with that bacon and the drippings just for a couple of minutes, just to kind of soften them, because they are going to bake in the oven. All right, and bear with me. I know this sounds strange. This next, or this, not this ingredient, but the next one. About 4 tablespoons of butter, and then 1 block of cream cheese is going to go in here. This is going to make it just decadent and rich and creamy, and it really is good. I made this for dinner the other day when I was recipe testing, and I made this for dinner at home. And Austin, our oldest, that you see on here with me sometimes, he was like, "Mom, this is the best chicken you've ever made," and which of course made me very, very happy. You want to just kind of stir this in. You want to get the cream cheese broken up into smaller pieces, and it will melt into, turn your heat down. You don't want to burn this by any means, but it takes just a minute with a whisk, and we're just going to melt that cream cheese into the butter and the bacon and the onion, and it'll melt into that. Then we're going to add in our Parmesan cheese mixture. Okay, add that in and continue to whisk, and it's all going to melt and become a semi-thick type of sauce. Okay, I'm going to switch. Sometimes you got to beat the whisk against the bowl to get all the stuff out of there. We'll switch over to a little spoon. Turn that down and just let that simmer for about 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, till that cream cheese is totally melted. I'm going to take a quick break, clean up, get the chicken out of the oven over to here, and I'm going to show you what to do next. I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, now we took our chicken out of the oven. The pan is very, very hot. It is not cooked through, but what I want to do is top each piece of chicken with some of this sauce. So, I mean, you know, it's pretty full in here. If you've got more space, you would want to be careful to not let it just go to waste. You want to get it on top of the chicken, but my pan is pretty full. So I am just going to top this with all of this cheesy goodness. Okay, now there's a little bit of chicken broth that's naturally occurred out, come out of the chicken. That's okay. It's just going to blend with this and make it even better. Alrighty, we are just going to do this right here, and then pop that back into the oven for about another 20 to 25 minutes. About 10 minutes before it's done, we're going to add just a final little topping of Parmesan cheese so it can crisp up and brown up and get that little bit of a crunch on there. So we're going to pop this back in the oven and let it go for about another 20 minutes. Okay. Alrighty, now we just topped our chicken with the Parmesan cheese and it's back in the oven. It just needs a couple minutes to brown up. We're going to make a kind of a pretend milkshake. We'll just call it that. That is really good. Now I have a couple of cups of ice in here, and I'm going to add 1 cup of unsweetened almond milk. You could use cashew milk, you could use whatever kind, coconut milk, whatever you wanted. And then either half and half or heavy cream. A little bit of vanilla. I like vanilla, so I'm going to add a little lot, actually. And then I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. It has no carbohydrates in it. And it's going to be loud. We're just going to, you need a blender for this. We're going to turn our blender on. We're going to start it out slow. We're going to chop it. Then we're going to go to puree. And I'm going to have to stir because it's needing to be mixed up a little bit. Sometimes the ice will get kind of trapped down in there. You got to just stir it. Okay. Oh. All right. Come on, blender. Okay. Turn it off. Mix it up again. This is going to be a very thick, frothy type drink. It might take you 3 or 4 times to get it going, but it'll eventually get there. Okay, it's pureeing that ice. Then let's see if we need to add any more ice. Let me grab a little spoon and give it a taste. There's a popular fast food restaurant that has a Frosty that I love. Well, this is kind of a take on that. So you see how that becomes very thick and very almost frosty-like? That's what we're doing. That is so good. Needs to be pureed just a little more. Okay. Then we're going to add, I don't like really sweet things. I'm going to add just a couple of packs. I like Splenda, whatever kind of, let me add 3. Whatever kind of artificial sweetener. Erythritol is good. Splenda, stevia, monk fruit, whatever you like. This is very thick. And my blender is giving me a fit today for some reason. It's just not wanting to work. Okay. One more and then we should be good to go. Alrighty. Serve this. This is dessert. So you would want to serve this in I like a pretty glass dish. I'm just going to take some of my Frosty, if you will, and put it down in a pretty little glass. I would top that with some strawberries or raspberries and serve that. You could sprinkle it with a little bit of unsweetened coconut if you wanted to. Absolutely delicious. Now, our Brussels sprouts are done. Let me grab the chicken out of the oven. All right. It's all melted and golden and brown and hot. Bring this over here. It's very hot. Okay. And I would serve this with my absolutely scrumptious. I have a confession. I have been nibbling on these Brussels sprouts because they are really so good. Okay. And then one serving, I would sprinkle my little green onion, save that for garnishing. Okay, this is hot, so be careful. One of your chicken breasts on your plate. And there you go, a delicious, easy, low-carb meal. All of this together, including the chocolate dessert, is approximately 9 net grams of carbohydrates. So, when you're trying to eat healthier and more low-carb, diabetic-friendly, low-sugar, all of that kind of thing, this is how you can eat. You just have to get in the kitchen and experiment and try and do your reading and your research. Thank you for joining with me. We're going to have more recipes like this coming up, and I will see you next time on Everyday Manna.
Living Faith Television, in care of Everyday Manna, P.O. Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia, 24212.